So there is some new data for Tesla that we absolutely want to go ahead and parse through. However, I want to go ahead and highlight a couple of things that are pretty notable. For example, the NASDAQ 100 is set to have its best quarter since 2020. Now, this is very bullish, right? Now, I want to go ahead and show you guys Tesla stock to really depict a vivid, image of what's been going on and why there's a lot of optimism taking place. See, back in 2022, there was a lot of selling pressure going on, right? Now, there's a copious amount of different reasons why, obviously Tesla stock was falling down. One, we entered into a risk-off environment. We had the Federal Reserve hike the interest rate at the fastest pace it's ever done in decades, right? Then on top of that, we had Elon sell a bunch of shares. Obviously, we had the acquisition of Twitter that didn't help. And then to add more into this capitulation of Tesla stock, we also had, a lot of tax loss harvesting happening in, December, where we had a bunch of individuals selling just to offset, the gains that they've had previously, right? And then to add more fuel to the fire, of course, there was a lot of short selling. So this is just, a recipe for disaster. However, this all changed in January, where things started to kind of just flip in the opposite direction, right? Now, I want to go ahead and highlight something that I mentioned to my private group just very recently on Thursday. So I mentioned that we're seeing money flow into the QQQs, right? The NASDAQ tech, because of a combination of money flowing from draining of the financials, right? The previous bank runs, and also money draining out of these long-term notes like bonds, right? So all this money is going into tech, right? Now, I mentioned that the flowing of this money isn't going to be indefinite, and we'll have to take a look at, the fundamentals. Now, I said that the fundamentals look extremely ugly. However, I was talking about just overall in general, because when we're talking about Tesla specifically, that's a different story, right? And I have more data that I want to show you guys later in this video that really just covers a little bit more deeper into the fundamentals of Tesla. However, before we go ahead and, just break that down, I also want to highlight something else, right? So we're having a lot of companies mentioning about stock buybacks, right? Now, typically you don't have companies mention, anything about stock buybacks unless they believe the stock is undervalued, right? Now, keep in mind, last year we had Elon Musk mention that he is planning to do a huge stock buyback for Tesla next year, which is, this year. Now, we don't know what date that is. We don't know if he's going to hold on to that promise, but that's something that could possibly happen this year. Of course, we also have the catalyst event of Cybertrucks, so we have some, good news down the road. However, we have to touch on the fundamentals, but before we do so, right, I also want to highlight something else I mentioned to the private group. So I also mentioned that, we're seeing inflation slowing down, but only gradually, right? So the elevated readings keep the heat turned up on the Feds, and thus, I expect that the Feds are going to hike an additional 25 basis points in its May monetary policy meeting. So what does this exactly mean? Well, basically, we're probably going to hike one more time and then the pause, right? Now, the market is very forward-looking. So if we had the Fed pause, well, that's going to be very bullish to the overall market, because what comes after the pause? Well, then you start cutting, and then we go into a risk on environment. Now, keep in mind, guys, if you want to know more deeper of the things that I cover, or you want to be a part of the private group, make sure to check out the first link in the description of this video, because there is a large coupon code. But putting that aside, I want to go ahead and cover some of the things I mentioned, which is the data for Tesla. So we just had the Tesla Q1 delivery numbers come out, and it is a beat. See, Wall Street had an estimate of deliveries of 421,164, but Tesla came out and did 422,875. So clearly a beat, record-breaking numbers. Now, I do want to highlight something here. So the Model S actually missed, right? So Wall Street had an estimate of 16,728, but they actually only delivered 10,695, as opposed to the Model 3, which was clearly a beat. See, Wall Street estimated 408,480 versus, what they actually delivered, which was 412,180, right? Totaling up to 422,000 or 100,875. So clearly good news for Tesla. Now, this definitely breaks the whole idea that people had that Tesla is, losing as far as demand for their vehicles. This clearly shows that individuals are still, having a high demand for Tesla vehicles, especially lower price models. So what does this tell us? This means that, as soon as Tesla releases the next generation vehicle, which is going to be priced at half of what the Model 3 is, which is what we're expecting, well, we're probably going to have a lot more demand, right? And obviously other legacy automakers like GM and Ford, they can't even compete. They're losing money now, and they're saying they're going to be profitable in 2026 versus Tesla's profitable now, and they're going to be much more profitable once they even release their next generation vehicle. So definitely good stuff over here, fundamentally wise when it comes to Tesla, because at the end of the day, fundamentals mean the most when it comes to putting your money into a company. This is why investors pour money into companies based on the fundamentals, not the squiggly lines on the chart. The catalyst events, the option flow, the flow, all that stuff matters, but only in the short term. The long term, it's all fundamentals. With that being said, guys, let me know your thoughts for Tesla stock in the comment section below, and also make sure to watch this next video right over here, and I'll see you guys on that next video. Take care, guys.